Here at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, we train our animals for many different reasons. Today I want to tell you a little bit about what we call husbandry training. Now, husbandry training are behaviors that we can teach our animals that allow them to be active participants in their own care. So doing things that help us do veterinary procedures or just help us in their day-to-day moving about the exhibits. At the zoo, obviously a lot of the animals we work with are too dangerous to go in with, so we need to have a way that we can communicate with them what we would like them to do with us. So training actually gives us a way to talk to our animals and kind of let them know what we would like from them. With husbandry behaviors, we kind of divide them into two categories. The first one are behaviors that we can use on a day-to-day basis. One of the first things that we usually train our animals that are new to the collection is how to shift for us. And basically what that means is we just ask our animals to move from one place to another so we can move them onto exhibit where our guests can enjoy them, or ask them to come back inside in case we have bad weather or need to bring them in for the night. Another useful behavior that we train is called a retrieval. So oftentimes our animals will get something that they're not supposed to have, for example, maybe a zoo map or a pair of sunglasses. We don't often want our animals to be playing with these things. They can ingest them sometimes, or they can be harmful to them. So we teach these guys that behavior as a way to get those items we don't want them to have back and be able to trade that for a food reward. So it's beneficial to the animal to retrieve that item we'd like to get back from them because they're getting something in return from us. Targeting is another one of those basic behaviors that we use quite often in the zoo world. Basically what targeting is we ask an animal to touch a specific part of their body, most often a hand or their nose, to an item. So usually the end of a dowel rod or a tennis ball. What we can use this for is giving the animal a little information about where we would like them to be. So for example, if I have a lion that I'd like to move across the exhibit, I obviously can't go in there and move them across the exhibit, but I can target them to the other side. So by showing him that target, the lion knows he needs to move from the one side of the exhibit to the other side where the target is and touch his nose to it. If he touches his nose to that target stick, he does get a food reward for it. I mentioned earlier we have two separate categories of husbandry behavior that we focus on. The first one is those day-to-day behaviors that we just talked about. The second group is what we call veterinary behavior. Now these behaviors are focused a little more on the animals being active participants in their own veterinary care. So the first of these veterinary behaviors are body presentation. Now what this entails is teaching the animals to present different body parts to us so we can examine them and make sure that they're okay. For example, we can have an animal lie down so we can look at their back. We can have them stand up so we can look at their underside, or present paws and hands and feet so we can examine those. If they have a small injury to them, we can maybe even treat them with the animal being awake and actively participating in a positive way where they're receiving that reinforcer or that treat for letting us inspect that body part. We also teach a lot of our animals to open their mouths for us. Dental health is really important for animals as it is for people. We even have some animals that we brush their teeth. Our hippo, for example, does get her teeth brushed every single day to make sure she stays nice and healthy. The reason that dental health is so important is if we can catch some of these tooth problems early on, they don't become larger problems like abscesses or infections. So by being able to see the animal's teeth and gums, we can kind of prevent some things that may turn into larger illnesses later on. One of our really important veterinary behaviors that we train for is called injection training. A lot of our animals at the zoo need to have vaccinations every year, just like dogs and cats at home. And oftentimes if we can't do things with the animal awake, we do have to anesthetize them to be able to get a better look. Now, if we can't give an injection by hand, our only option is really to use a dart gun, which as you can imagine is not much fun for the animal and really not much fun for the staff either. An injection behavior is usually achieved by training the animal to present either their shoulder or their hip against the mesh. This gives us a nice big area where we can have access to muscle if we need to get an injection into a muscle. By being able to give these injections by hand, it makes the animals' lives a lot less stressful, lets us take better care of them, which is kind of our overall theme of all of our husbandry training, and just allows for us to have a better relationship with the animals by not exposing them to really stressful situations like a dart. Training at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo is a really important part of both the keepers and the animals' day-to-day lives. It really allows for our keepers to have better relationships with our animals, have us take the best care of our animals that we can, and it really tends to be a fun part of the keepers' jobs.